Hello, folks. Kirk and Jason here with Kirkgiordano plastering. Today we got something that a lot of you might find interesting because this is very, very common in millions of houses around the world. Okay, what do we have here? We have a chimney, and this is a duplex. There's another house on the other side. In fact, if you look through here, you could see the other side sometimes, and you could hear what's going on sometimes. So they put insulation here, and they had a piece of wood here, but that wood, because this chimney is doing what it's supposed to do, it's not trying to defy gravity. It's settling. It's a 120-year-old house, so the chimney will drop down a quarter of an inch, say, in 120 years. It's normal, guys. We've gone over that in many videos, how it settles. Okay, when you get a settling chimney, say, now what happens to the walls next to them? Well, they crack. We got cracks here. We got cracks here. We got cracks in the ceiling. Is that uncommon? No. Here's my opinion of this chimney. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being really good, I'd say it's a 9. I give it such a high recommendation as far as quality because after 120 years, if that's all you got, guys, that's nothing. The fact that the pieces of wood here kind of got loose and they put it on and got loose, it's nothing. So what we're prepared here to do today is we're going to fix it. And I'll tell you what kind of material we're going to use. We are going to use Structo-lite. Now, 40 years ago when I was working with old man Whitey, I was an apprentice and we were doing hospitals and schools. Hospitals and schools have a fire ratio that you've got to contend with. It's a code. You have to do certain things. So back then I was about 20 and I'd mix this. Back then they came in 80-pound bags. They were like that big. So old man Whitey would say, Kirk, go mix me a bucket or two and put accelerators in some or don't put any in them. And what is Structolite? Structolite is milled perlix. I'd say, Whitey, what is milled perlix? And he'd say, boy, perlite. He'd say, it's milled perlite. And I'd say, well, what's milled perlite? And he says, boy, that's volcanic glass. And I said, well, which is it? He said, you take the perlite, they mine it, they put it in a kiln, they heat it up to 1600 degrees, and it pops kind of like popcorn, and you get perlite. And I thought, why? Anyway, that's another story. But the perlite mixed with the plaster in here. Now this is, what it does is, like right here, see this insulation here? Rather than me try to reinvent the wheel, the perlite has the abilities, the properties to not only soundproof this, but give it fire ratio. So it's the highest fire ratio, the highest soundproofing, and it has some bacterias. I don't know too much about that because that's not part of what we do. Anyway, what I've done here is I took her vacuum cleaner. Now, we took this vacuum cleaner, and all I wanted the vacuum cleaner was to push this insulation in. Do I want to suck that insulation out? No. I want to leave that insulation in. So I pushed it in. And while I have the vacuum cleaner, what I did was I vacuumed all the dust here. I vacuumed all the dust here. Why? Anybody know? Because nothing adheres to a dusty surface. Nothing. Nothing. So I can plaster this, and within 2 years, it'll pop right back out because it's dusty. So what we're doing now is I'm taking plaster weld. Plaster weld is made by Larson's, and not only did I get the dust off of this, guys, but I'm putting this on the wood lath. I'm putting it on the wood lath, I'm putting it on the painted surface, and I'm putting it all over here. Why, guys? So that new Structolite will adhere forever, not just a year to 5 to 10, but long after when I'm gone. So what Jay is prepared to do, he's going to mix me up some the Structolite. And what old man Whitey used to say, if we were working on a hospital, say, or a school, and it was just a little thing, he said, Kirk, put a cup full of accelerator in it because I want the Structolite to set now. Structolite takes 5 hours, guys. Remember that. 5 hours to dry. So that's a thin coat. I'm going to go in here as deep as I can, possibly 6 inches. After I put some on, I'm going to push it in more. I'm going to keep pushing it. So it might be going 8, 9 inches in there. So that's why I need the accelerator. So Jay is going to put some accelerator in there. That way, when I put it in here, I don't have to wait 3 days for it to dry. It'll dry as fast as we want it to dry. So as I'm doing that, I'm going to explain a few things too that I think you'll find somewhat entertaining, because that perlite that's in that Structolite has a lot of other benefits. People use it for agriculture, especially, and get this, especially for weed, for marijuana, for ganja. You want to grow that without dirt and soil, you use perlite and you use vermiculite. And it's air entrapment and oxygen, and your plants grow like crazy. People do it for spinach, for tomatoes, for all these. A lot of interesting facts about that Structolite. Anyway, he's going to mix me up some, and we're going to get started, and I'll show you and explain some more things about a few other things. Okay, guys, we have some Structa mix. Now, this Structolite, Jay and I haven't worked with it for about 6 months. What does that mean? It doesn't mean we forgot how to do it. We forget sometimes how much accelerators to put in it. I want it to set. Now notice, see all this? I'm squeezing it in that hole there because we want to insulate it. I want it to have the fire ratio. I want it to insulate. Folks here don't want to know what the people next door are doing. And I don't know when this is going to set. It could set before I'm finished with this hawkful. In fact, it's starting to set. I can tell that's starting to set right there because it's starting to build up. If you can build it up high, that means it's starting to set. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to take it, and what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing it inside that hole. And it'll clean. Structolite. You see all that gritty stuff, you think, is that sand? No. Perlite. Tried to get away from me. So, as I'm applying this, I'm also judging it. Because, again, I don't know, as of just right now, when this is going to set. So, now, I just went over this. Now I'm going to continue pushing it in. Because I can feel it's kind of soft still, so that makes me relax. I know the materials well enough to say, hey, you got some time. But sometimes we put it on, and before Jay is done with that bucket, he brings it to me, stiff as a rock. It is already stiff, so right now I'm good. Let's see this next one. Oh, that one's looking pretty good too. Generally, if I'm putting a lot of mud on, I'll put my own elbow on my knee. Let my knee. Okay, yeah, as I'm doing this, sometimes I put my elbow on my knee and let that hold it while I put it on. Now, I'm still very much aware of this Structa. This Structolite, if I feel it's starting to get hard, I'm going to run to the other side and fill it up just to get rid of it rather than throw it away. Because once it starts setting, elbow grease is no longer in question. It just becomes rock hard and you can't apply it. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the bulk. I'm getting all the bulk in. Notice I'm squeezing it in. In some areas you cannot see it, but it's in there about 4 to 6 inches already. When it comes to the top, I just get my handy dandy bucket and finish that top. And because I'm using a pull trowel, and this pull trowel, I know folks always say, hey, that's not a real trowel. I've been using it for over 30 years. This is straight. Just the ends are arced. It's not a perfect radius. I don't like a perfect radius because that is for concrete. It's for sidewalks. This one is for swimming pools, but I like using it for this too. How thick am I in there? I'm about 6 inches, maybe 8. And it just keeps going in. And I can play with it because I know the material. This material is, it's going to set, and when it sets, then I can put a little bit more over the top. And by the way, guys, they say you cannot finish with Structolite. Is that true? No, you can finish with Structolite. However, your tools got to remain wet. So anybody watching, we get a lot of plasters from the UK and they go, hey, you can't finish Structolite. And the fact is, you're not supposed to because it's sticky. It's like gluish. So you can't finish with it. However, I've been finishing with it for over 30 years. And the trick, or not trick, the technique is wet your tools. If you wet your tools, every stroke you wet your tools, you can finish with it. I'll show you that when we get to that part. You know, there's a lot of details, guys, that go into this. I mean, yeah, this is a chimney. It's pulling away from the wall. And this wall here, no doubt, 120 years ago, was done with Structolite. And then some kind of a gauging lime, gauging putty, veneer. You can call it whatever you want. It had lime in it to get the finish here. I can get it with this particular material. All I have to do is wet the trowel and push in the perlite. Or, yeah, get that sandy looking stuff in there, that volcanic glass. And two, you guys might, I mean, we are in a pandemic with COVID. Now, there's another something to consider. Like, okay, all this insulation showing. Is that good for your health? What insulation is good for your health, guys? There's an answer. None of them. None of them are good for your health. You're not supposed to get anything airborne, inhale it, because it's simply not good for you. That's like inhaling dust. What dust is good for you? Dirt, that's about it. Clean, natural dirt. But I'll show you something too, guys. And just getting off the topic, I'm going to take all the mud out of this bucket. This is a scoop, and it's curved. So the curve follows the curve in the bucket. So now I can take every last bit of stucco out of this bucket, or Structolite. I can take all the Structolite out of this bucket because this curve is perfect, and it's designed for buckets. It's a bucket scoop. So while I clean this bucket here and venture off into something that has nothing to do with what I'm doing, I just thought I'd mention it because of COVID. I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of this with this last trowelful. And Jay's going to make me some more. By the time he mixes me some more, this will be hard as a rock. And what does that mean? That means it was a perfect mix. It was designed where I could actually use it without losing half of the bucket because we put too much accelerator in it. And I know just by the feel of this that it's just the right amount. Just the right amount. I could squeeze it, and when it starts to pop out, that means it's done. That means it's as far back as it's going to go. See, right now it's popping out. That simply means, guys, no more. It won't go back any further. I've pushed the insulation that was there all the way as far as it's going to go back. Now it's starting to sponge out toward me. That means, guys, leave her alone then. I want to point out something, guys, because of COVID. Now, this got nothing to do with what I'm doing right now, but my house, for example, I have single pane windows. It's built 130 years ago, 1890. You see these windows here? Those are single pane windows. What happens when it's winter outside and it's cold or snowing? Then we get heat in here, condensation. Condensation runs down the wall. What happens with condensation when it runs down the wall? It gets on the sheetrock, the stucco. It causes mold. Is it a big deal? No. I mean, I personally wipe mine with my windows like once or twice a year. And I'll just use an acid like white vinegar. You could use bleach too to kill all the bacteria and mold, because you see it there You don't notice it. You walk by, you disturb it, it becomes airborne. It becomes airborne, you inhale it. It's just like COVID. You inhale these things. And yeah, there's a lot of fear, and that's good fear because COVID is the real deal. But our immune systems need practice. Not saying that what we have with COVID isn't real. I mean, we got the real deal, and I've had Lyme disease. I've had a lot of issues with malaria, Lyme disease, Hep C, this, that. That means practice for my immune system. How many years have I inhaled this stuff? About 40. Because I didn't used to wear a mask, but I should. I start doing that now, and I wear it now for COVID because you have to, and you should. But what I'm getting at is, you see things in the air right here, and because it's such, we're living in, I mean, it's almost Christmas time, 2020. You see the Santa hat there on the lion. I just thought I'd throw that out because, yeah, COVID is nasty, killing millions of people. But at the same time, it's not. We got to just know that our systems can defeat it. If you have a positive attitude with that, that's half the battle, guys. So it's real. Be safe. And Jay's going to mix me up some more, and I'm going to continue this and then show you how we finish it. Because technically, you can't trowel down this material, but I'll show you a way that you can trowel it down. Okay, guys. As I say earlier, Structo-lite says you cannot finish it. Why? Because it's sticky. It's real sticky. Let me backtrack a second and get back on that COVID stuff. I only bring that up to enlighten people because people are very serious, and you should be. Jay and I actually went and got tested today. Why? Because Jason, the cameraman, my son, has a new boy, Avery, and he's only 5 days old. Anyway, getting back to this. Oh, one more thing on the COVID and that. I'm going to put it in the link, a little clip from George Carlin, because we have a rated G channel. It's rated G. There's no goofy stuff, no sex or none of that kind of filthy language or anything. But this video from George Carlin, it actually puts a twist on some real serious issues in COVID. I mean, we don't get much more serious than that. Okay, back on what we're doing, guys, and why we're doing it. To soundproof, to weatherproof for heat. And it does have those microbial, what's that word? Microbial. It's antimicrobial. Man, that's a mouthful. I'll stick with cementitious finishes. Okay, guys. Now, what we have here is the perlite showing. The perlite, again, it looks like little bits of popcorn. It's great. It's volcanic glass. Again, you get that, you mine it, and you put it in kilns and heat it up, and that's how you get this. Okay. Now, because we have the perlite right here, or the aggregate, perlite is an aggregate, it's a mineral. Okay, now I'm going to take a sponge float. Now I'm going to take the sponge float and go against the chimney. And that chimney's seen a lot of caulking. It's moved a little bit, but I want a straight wall. I don't want this wall to come and curve this way to take up the slack of where the piece of wood used to be. I want the wall straight. And this wall has got sand in it. It's got, it's flow finish, kind of like what they did to this gorgeous chimney. They colored it. So, okay, here's what I do, guys. I take a clean float with a clean bucket of water. This is water right here. And if you're going to finish off Structo-lite, guys, here's how you do it. You wet your trowel. Every swipe, you wet it. Every time. Otherwise, it's going to drag and it's gluey. It'll stick to your trowel, so you got to wet it down every time. Okay, I'm going to take this float and go up. Now, when I go up, what's it going to do? It's going to drag the aggregate or the perlite out. And that's okay, because I need it now in order to feather it in. Now, how do I feather it in? If I try a dry trowel, it's going to take what's here and it's going to smear it all over the place. So I got to wet it. This is my damp cloth. Okay, now I wet that, and I put my trowel on it. And go up. I put the trowel on it. Tight. And I go up. Tight. Go up. And what that's doing is it's pushing the perlite aggregate into itself. And that gets rid of the sandy look. This is sandy. You can see all the sand in it. But we don't want it too sandy. Right here where it's very sandy, if the camera can show that, I take my trowel. Now, a lot of times you'll see me lift the trowel this way. That'll that'll make an edge. I don't want it, so I'm going to keep this trowel flat like snowboarding. Keep it perfectly flat. And that'll give my transition a tight transition so you can't see it. See that? Very tight. A little bit of sand is okay because I do have to match this. And while I'm on it, guys, if any of you say, well, you know, what's that bonding agent you use? One of the most popular bonding agents in the world is it's not that. It's Quikrete. Quikrete is sold at it's sold at Larms, it's sold at HD, Home Depot, Lowe's, everywhere. It's just a bonding agent, guys, because not only did I put the bonding agent so this plaster will adhere, but to get any dust, dirt, grime off of that lath and the chimney because it won't adhere. The last thing I'll show you is, guys, is we actually use a lot of this Moreflex for exterior cracks. In fact, some of the last jobs I just did, I used Moreflex. And the folks there were saying, well, gee, how do you fill this crack? Do you use cement? And I said, no. You don't use cement there because as the house flexes, this flexes. It's called Big Stretch. And it's made by the same company that makes this. Sasho? I guess that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, this gets filled with caulking because it's wood. You don't want to fill wood with stucco, guys. You fill it with a caulking. I'm actually going to caulk that since I'm here. But that's how you do it, guys. Anyway, we wish you guys a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year's, and all of that jazz. Okay, guys, it's the end of the day. Tired. We just cleaned ourselves up a little bit. And I told Nathan, come on, man, do that jingle again because I said it was corny while we were working our ace off, but it's cool. Do it again, brother. Like,
when your stucco needs repaired, 'cause the cracks are everywhere, call Giordano plastering right away. When it looks like an eyesore and you just can't take no more, call Giordano plastering right away.
now you guys know why I was stuck in my head. He took 15 minutes to come up with that shit, and I thought, dude, I'm a plasterer, you're a magician, musician. So that's working. Anyway, Nathan Humphreys, I'm going to put his phone number, email, and all that stuff in the description. So if you guys say, man, I need a jingle for my work, call this guy because he's a better musician than he is a plasterer because I had to work and do all the work today. Anyway, we thank you guys for watching. And as usual, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Do not drink and drive. Leave that to us professionals because you do not want matching handcuffs. So, Nathan, Lou, my brother, he can't walk too well with that broke foot, but he can drink beer damn well. Anyway, we thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Next one.